Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond Procurement, the podcast where we explore how procurement is no longer just a function but a force of transformation. I'm your host, Deepak, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by a guest who lives and breathes that transformation every day. With us is Vera Rozanova, a seasoned procurement professional, an invited lecturer, former CPO, and a globally recognized voice in supply chain and procurement strategy. She brings deep cross sector experience from large scale procurement, transformation to building agile and future ready procurement teams. She has in the past worked with companies like Alder Education, ENG, and Royal Canin. In today's episode, we'll be diving into a really interesting theme that doesn't get enough airtime but sits at the heart of a successful procurement strategy: planning. And not just as a process, but as a strategic tool that empowers a company to prioritize and deliver real impact. Vera recently shared a really interesting perspective on LinkedIn about how the lack of structured procurement planning is quietly derailing performance, and we are going to talk about it today. So this one is going to be full of insights. Vera, welcome to Beyond Procurement by Pavi. We are excited to have you here.
Thank you, Deepak. It's very, very, very nice to take part in your podcast. Thanks for
Thank you.
inviting me.
Thanks, Vera. So, in that recent post that I really found interesting, you highlighted that the issue of procurement teams is that they are always stuck in firefighting mode. Could you share some of your observations on why this reactive approach is very common in procurement?
So first, I think that procurement is still associated with cost center and it is a low fruit curse. So people, they need results that immediately visible. That's why they are going rather to the short-term projects rather than the long-term projects. Also, it is about quick fix. Now we have the problem, now we need to fix it. But it will create tomorrow crisis. But they don't think about this right now. Then I think it's about lack of planning because it is lack of data, lack of analysis, lack of resource to do that, lack of systems, lack of processes regarding that. Sometimes it is connected with the change management. People always did like that. We needed it now. Please give us it yesterday. Yeah. It's also about contradicting targets. Procurement always try to be between several departments. When finance is about costing, marketing is about speed, sales is about also reaction and new approaches. So procurement becomes like a yes department to be good for everyone. And it's about panicking. People forget something, people see that something has changes, they don't understand what is the reason of this change, so they panic and they try to fulfill this gap with procurement. It is the easiest thing to fix, as they think.
So, you highlighted a few factors that contribute to this firefighting mode. What are some factors that causing this to continue beyond even today, now that companies are realizing what's causing them to continue this, and how can organizations start shifting to a more proactive procurement strategy?
No, I think in short, this behavior is driven by it is easier. It's really easier. I have the pain right now. I need to cover it. I don't have time to think about the longer term consequences, about bad decision. I have the fire and I need to fight with this fire right now. And it is about change management, and this is about the culture in organization. And also it is a procurement fault because procurement in this contest, we are customer oriented and we would like to say yes to everyone. And so it is a twofold. How to break that? from my experience, first of all, we should start with procurement leadership that should start working with finance first, because I think that our major friend is budgeting and major friend is finance. They cannot operate in, give it today mode. That's why we should start budgeting with them. And the budgeting cycle should start with the analysis of previous spend and with one-to-one talks with our stakeholders on their plans and on their requirements to purchase for the next cycles. That should be embedded back to the budget cycle, and it is also the instrument of keeping that in control. So you can always reply back with finance, make them your ally. Why did it not happen? Why are you not performing as was budgeting? All this kind of thing. Uh, to be more flexible and to be, I think, more in line with the actual needs, because of course you cannot plan once for the 1 year and then keep up to the plan. Business is very dynamic. That's why my recommendation is to be embedded in S&OP cycle, sales and operation procedure cycle, as a separate function, so that we can listen to our stakeholders what has changed in their respective field and how we can reply to that. Then I think it is also because they don't know the processes. That's why I started with setting up the SLA, with setting up the procedures, clear roles and responsibilities, clear timelines. And I would recommend to educate stakeholders very regularly, probably at quarterly basis, because they forget. It's not their primarily, field of expertise. They change. Sometimes they just don't care. Yeah. So you need to repeat, 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 and repeat. And of course, it is about tracking and reporting the violations. And it's about making them the urgent purchase quite difficult. So they need to have the additional approval flow for the urgent purchases. So it's not like I just forget, let it do it. No, they need to understand that if it's really urgent, they will go to top management and they will look for the approval. If it is their mistake, probably they will wait for another planning cycle and live without that. Yeah, and I think the last advice is to start building strategy within procurement. It is such strategies as procurement department strategy, including the resource allocation, and it is about the category strategies. So how much do we purchase? What do we purchase? Where can we find that? What are our plans? How are we aligned with the company goals? We always need to distinguish between nice to have and must have, between real organizational goals and between what our stakeholders got used to.
So thanks, Vera. That was a very detailed step by step way on how procurement leaders can start this transition. One of the things that you mentioned was stakeholder expectations and demands, aligning with them. How can any examples or any recommendations on how procurement professionals can communicate the importance of planning to other stakeholders? Any example that you have seen that has helped in the past?
Oh, of course, first of all, we need to align our targets, to align our KPIs. then I think that our mistake is that we in procurement have our sometimes specific language and specific, targets that we are communicating towards. So we need to communicate with their eyes, to communicate what is interesting to them, to help them to achieve their goals. And that is how we will build the real partnership with our stakeholders.
Yeah. Possible to share an example where it worked, maybe the challenges you faced, but what was the output that really, made it worth it?
Um, for example, yeah, I would say that when I worked for the very big agricultural company and our stakeholders and actually our finance, they were for the lowest cost at that time because of some lack of budget at that time. But that meant I'm talking about spare parts category of spend. But at that time, we as procurement, and it was my task to my team to consider the total cost of the spare parts. And we understood that a lot of spare parts were either fake or, very poor quality China spare parts that led to bigger financial losses in the future. And we slowly started to change the point of view of our stakeholders from the short-term procurement projects to get the cheapest spare parts towards the longer-term contracts with the original manufacturer of equipment to get the spare parts probably a little bit more expensive, but it will less risky. It will be more reliable, and in the long end, at the horizon on 1-2 years, it will cost us less. But it was about planning, and again, that was a very, very complex project because when you start planning, it's not only about the proper timing for procurement to find the potential suppliers and to negotiate with them. It's also about aligning the demand of several departments because we had several production sites across the country. Align their demands and to combine their demands and to go with a bigger leverage towards the original equipment manufacturer to get the better prices from them.
Great. Yeah, that's interesting. I could derive a few key insights. One is getting procurement at the start with along with other departments and not as a knee-jerk reaction when you realize that there is a supply that needs to be figured out. Also, one of the things that you mentioned was it's not always about cost savings. It is also about the reliability, whether this would be delivered on time or not in the desired quality. That
And
definitely.
it is about how often your equipment will be broken and what it will cost you in the long end. So actually, it is about costs, but it is about shifting from the short-term horizon to the longer-term horizon, to the wider business perspective.
Great. That's interesting. And how do you see technology play a crucial role in transforming the procurement processes from chaos to control?
Uh, Procurement plays crucial role. Uh, Technology plays crucial role because when firefighting, all your procurement team is busy with some monkey job actually. They are preparing hectically some documents. They are making hectically some correspondence to stakeholders, to some suppliers. So they are busy. They don't have time to do the proper job, to look in the market, to understand the trends, to analyze the data. So as soon as all the repetitive tasks are really done by technology, then procurement First of all, they can obtain other skill set. And this is about strategic planning, about stakeholder management, about emotional intelligence, about strategical thinking. And that is all can be available with the help of technology.
Great. So, and what are, in your experience, what are some of the type of technologies that you have seen that work in this process? Because there's a chaos of technologies as well, and you don't really need all of them depending on where you're, in which phase you are. So, any specific types of technologies that you have seen working for you?
Oh, of course, it is centralized master data. When you can derive any data, historical data. Centralized, I mean, when your organization is big and you have several countries, several production sites, the master data should be centralized so that you can make so-called procurement spend cube analysis. Means by supplier, by production site, by geography, by customer. Then, of course, a lot of organizations now have P2P solution that help them to make their process more or less automatic within the system. And this is also good because having all your activities and all your documents in one place, it's quite easy to audit that and quite and that is really important because when audit comes, procurement department sometimes stop working for a month just to collect the data as per their questions and requests. The same is with the KPIs and workflow dashboards. If you can do it like that by pressing one button, it saves you a lot of time because you know that each and every month procurement department for 2-3 days are busy just with making the figures, and it is not good. If we are talking about less obvious, of course, generative AI is helping a lot just to prepare documents, to find the quick information, to make the emails, even to prepare for the proper negotiation, for further negotiation. But it should be taken with a very, very consciously because you know this halo effect and generative AI, they can tell you a lot of information that is not realistic. So we need to check and double check. But anyway, it saves a lot of time, a lot of time. What else I saw in my experience is that there might be a process audit, procurement process audit to investigate about repetitive tasks. And it is what is most easy to automate with the small decisions. And chatbots to reply frequently asked questions from both sides, from supplier sides or potential supplier sides, and from stakeholder sides. Some applications that can track your project status and send you the reminders. Some applications that can track your contract lifecycle status to remind the status and when should be what renewed. All this kind of things. Of course, the automated approval workflow, automated documentation workflow, all the small kind of things very, very much help.
Thanks, Vera. That gives a great perspective on some of the things that I'm sure procurement people would already be using, but it helps in categorizing a few of them. So that takes me to the next one. As procurement teams implement these changes, shifting from a much more proactive way of doing things, what metrics or indicators should they monitor to assess their progress from chaos to control?
It is a compliance rate. So as soon as we have the agreed process, we should measure the compliance of this process. And actually, I think that procurement process is not only responsibility of procurement department, which is a wrong perception of many people. It is the whole organization process. Procurement is a facilitator of this process. That's why other departments should understand the procurement process and how they should be compliant to it. And it should be their responsibility as well. That's why there should be some shared KPIs as well. So the shared KPIs also should be measured. Then we need to measure the spend under management, under procurement management. What the fraction of spend do we as procurement manage? Or there are a lot of maverick spend that go bypasses procurement. Yeah. So budget adherence. You budgeted your money. How are you in line with your budget? Supplier performance, because if procurement have chosen not reliable suppliers, it will lead to chaos. Even if your company is playing very good, but your suppliers not deliver on time or the quality is poor, it will lead to chaos. Audit pass rate, because it's also about compliance. Procurement cycle time, because the faster we can close the needs of our stakeholders, the better. I think probably another one, it is the cost saving, actual cost savings, not the planned cost savings, but actual cost savings. Because sometimes we make a very good project, but then, for example, either our suppliers, they don't do the proper job, which is our procurement fault, or our stakeholders, they start to communicate with suppliers differently. For example, they start asking them to bring them everything tomorrow. And then it will also, bring the chaos to the process.
Great. And is there a way the continuous improvement that always helps can be embedded into the procurement function to ensure that these metrics are definitely measured but also improved with not just the procurement but also with other stakeholders?
I think the continuous improvement here is constant talking with our stakeholders, uh, constantly asking their feedback, being on top of their project, take part in their meetings, in their monthly meetings when they discuss their project, their KPIs, and in their project meetings. What else? Then it is about to set up controls, but the least controls as needed. Yeah, we don't need to control everything. We need to make the process as simple as possible, but it should cover all the risk areas. And it's about, I think, taking the feedback from suppliers as well, because they can also tell us where we are good and where we can be improved as the company. And it's about taking feedback from the top management, from our stakeholders. So, yeah, to interact with everyone and to listen, because sometimes we are in our silo and we cannot listen what is obvious.
Got it. Possible to share any clear ROI or maybe some case study on how you have seen it changes the business or the impact it has made when companies shift to a planning first procurement mode? Imagine a company shifts to a planning first procurement mode.
Mhm.
Any success story that you can share where you have seen this happening and the impact that it has generated?
Yes, I have my personal story. For example, I was working for Eastern and Western Europe. I don't remember how many end markets it was, but it was clearly around 20 end markets. And each and every marketing department, they bought their shopping equipment for shops separately, and they were ordering from their local suppliers very short as soon as they need that. They have the contract signed, I don't know, tomorrow. They never expect that, so they need additional shelves for their products and all this kind of things. So it took me like a half of the year to talk to each and every top team of each and every country, to collect all the requirements, to unify that, and to make the tender for all these unified requirements for the next 3 years. It was very, very difficult because no one wanted to sign up for the volume for the next 3 years. And it was, psychologically very, very dangerous for them. So it took a lot of time to negotiate that with them, with the internal stakeholders, I mean. And we made up the one RFQ for the volume of the next 3 years. It was tentative volume, of course. And we had the contract with the best, I think, one of the best producer of this kind of equipment in the world. And of course, it was quite expensive one, but it was very durable, very reliable, because durability for the shop equipment is very, very important. It was very premium because marketing wanted that. But as soon as the provider, as soon as the manufacturer saw the volume and saw the long-term solution, they managed to do the improvement on their production line. It cost them some money, but they saw that they will receive the return on investment for that, and they offered us a very good discount for that.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it would have been to speak to 20, 30 teams and then, do this for 6 months. It's quite extensive.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a very big money. It was a very big company.
So let's go, to the future for a bit and imagine if more organizations adopt this planning first mindset. What would the future of procurement look like? How would, it appear?
Mhm. Yeah, it will be a good future. We will operate towards the data, not our gut feeling. We will have the analytics to plan and probably to predict. We will be more collaborative, and that, I think, will do our work more pleasant, because it will be more, and it is already more human oriented. It will not contain this, boring everyday routine, but it will be more project oriented. We will be able to spend more time towards ESG, toward initiatives, innovations with our suppliers. We will be perceived as the partners in the organization, not the people that bring savings. Yeah, and I think that it will be more easy to embed risk management in our everyday life, which also will do it more predictable. And yeah, we will be the real business partners for the organizations.
That's a great one. And not to forget, I mean, if those things fall into place, a more or a balanced work life, you have less stress to worry about because a lot of things fall into place for you. I mean, that's a highly underrated outcome that I would say.
Yeah, very good addition.
So one final one, because this has been great and I don't want to trouble you further, but if you could give one piece of advice to procurement leaders who are really overwhelmed by all this chaos, what would it be?
One advice. I think that chaos is not the enemy, it is like a diagnostic tool. So if you have emergencies every day, it shows that something doesn't work properly, and probably you need to investigate what and why. And I would recommend to do this investigation with the biggest categories, with the most strategic categories of spend, to understand what doesn't work, why do you have this urgent request, how can you improve that, what will be your next plan of improvement. Yeah. So start with that. Start with talking to your stakeholders, the biggest stakeholders. And I think that with that is to your comment. We spend so much time at work that we need to have friends that are not enemies. So start to be perceived as a friend for your stakeholders, for the business, for your colleagues, and that will help.
Great. So that's all for today, Vera. Before we end this session, if procurement teams need to know more about your work, need to know more about your insights, need to reach out to you, how can they do that?
I'm widely available in the LinkedIn, so yeah, normally I reply quite shortly to any
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
messages. Yeah.
So yeah. So for our listeners, if you would like to know more about what Vera does, her work, her insights, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn. She definitely replies, quite frequently and on time. So do follow her and reach out to her and find out more about her work. Uh, with that, I would like to thank you again, Vera, for sharing your expertise with us today. I'm
Thank you.
sure our audience would like this episode, and we hope to do more such episodes with you in future.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting to talk to you.